Lazy Bedhead channel was provided by viewers like you. Thank you.
Playing pretend as a kid. One of my favorite things to do growing up with my younger siblings is play little role-playing games where we either had like magic powers or a magic animal companion. Or we were the magic animal.
Surprised none of us ended up being a furry.
But yeah, I think we can all think of a time where we were playing pretend games with our friends. As we become older, however, and grow up into the adult world, that fantasy world that we imagine and play in sizzles out. Or alternatively, it becomes a tabletop role-playing game that you play with your friends every weekend and get high as shit, so long as no one cancels. Regardless, this make-believe scenario that we escape to as a kid usually becomes a thing of the past. Except if you're on TikTok, where playing pretend is an entire subgenre. If you've ever been stuck in the doom-scrolling world that is short-form content like TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels, then there's more than likely a chance that you have seen this type of content before. This form of content, the skit content, is another way of storytelling, rather than the brain rot garbage of a
text-to-speech robot reading a Reddit post with subway surfers in the background.
A lot of content creators will take these stories and reenact them as a more creative and transformative way to tell a story. It's also a chance for these creators to flex their acting skills and effectiveness of distinguishing between different characters by acting out as different personas featured in these reenactments. Although for some, they're not exactly great at doing this, and instead will opt to putting a filter over their face to distinguish between different characters. This is a weird time waster on the internet, but I cannot say that I myself have not personally liked this content in the past. It feels like a soap opera at times, wasting your time scrolling through part 2, sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6 installments to get all of that juicy drama. Some people create entire worlds and their own respective shows out of this with a fan base such as Hell's Bells by JC Lin. But sometimes we get Hell's Bells, and other times we get Mama Owl.
It's time to pay your penance.
Mama Owl is a math teacher on TikTok with over 2 million followers, creating skit content originally about working in the service industry, but switched out to reenacting stories of school injustices. Her real name is Ashley Caselman, and throughout her journey on TikTok, she's remained relatively unscathed, the squeaky cleanest of images. And I mean, I get the appeal and understand why. Ashley's content is somewhat wholesome, although covering subject matter that can be distressing. They are relatable because at least at some point, someone experiences something similar to what she's making a skit about. And these skits ending with a happy ending and these student characters getting some form of justice. It does feel very cathartic to watch in a world that doesn't seem to have any justice at all. Ashley created the ideal world of how these stories should end, whether they are made-up scenarios or fan submissions. Yes, her base does submit stories for her to reenact, and I can see why it's appealing to have this person give someone a happy ending when faced with injustices. However, this image is starting to crack under the pressure of some fair criticism that Ashley clearly isn't taking very well. So let's talk about that.
Part 1. The video in question.
If you've been following this story at all, whether that be on TikTok or Reddit, then you already know that the start of all of this was with one bad video. The video in question is one that I've actually seen in the past. I wasn't ever a follower of Mama Owl, but I have mindlessly scrolled through her videos before, and this was definitely one that I have seen. And even back when I watched it, I was a little shocked that it wasn't removed off of TikTok sooner. I mean, TikTok has literally removed videos and banned people off of the platform for blunders far less offensive than, well, this. I will be playing the video in question in its entirety for full context, and it might get me demonetized, but I do want to show you this removed content and point out its glaring and obvious problems in full detail. So if the topics of sexual assault or harassment upsets you, this might be incredibly distressing to watch. There won't be anything graphic, but there will be explicitly implied content. Please take the next 5 seconds to skip this if this sounds too taxing for your mental health.
Pause. You're going to pay your penance now. It's too bad you're trans. I can't get the full effect. Please stop. You're making me I'll take the chart. You send me to the office. It's too late for that now. What are you? I said it's time to pay your penance. No, don't touch me! Ugh! I have to talk to a principal. Any principal, please. Oh my god, are you? What's going on here? Please help me. I have to show you this. Here, sit down. What is this? Our sub took me into a room by myself and just watch. I don't think I can watch any more of this. Please, you have to. You're going to pay your penance. Oh my god. Please help me. Come with me. Here, counselor. Yes? Is everything okay? No, it's not. She's been through something very traumatic and she needs a safe place. Can she be in here with you? Of course she can. Come on, dear. Come sit down. What happened? I think we need the police before there's any talking. Please just help her to calm down if you can. Police. Here. Come sit down right here. Please, it's they, them. Thank you. I'll be back shortly. It might seem stupid, but sometimes it helps me to color when I'm really stressed out or when I've been through some trauma. It helps me focus on something else. Here's markers, pens, crayons. You can use anything that you want. I'll stay here with you. You're safe. Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt, but while you're in here, I need you to fill out this report. Okay. I finished the picture. I'm feeling a lot better now. Okay, I'm not really sure what's going on here, hon. Mr. F said he needs the police. I know you're safe here at school. Do you feel safe going to your next class? Yeah, I mean, as long as I don't have Miss Akers, I'll be fine. I'll go to my next class. Thank you. Let me know if you need anything. Hey, did you hear we have a sub today? Hello? Alright, class. Looks like I'm in here today. My name is Mrs. Akers.
Now, I remember seeing this exact video well over a year ago. I remember because I was in my old apartment and it was late at night when I was mindlessly scrolling through TikTok and I found it. And even then, this video made me itch. It wasn't a comfortable experience witnessing a grown woman throw a pair of her own shorts down to her ankles and pretend to do whatever this is to herself. And my first thought when seeing it was, TikTok is probably going to take this video down. I mean, it has to. According to the TOS of TikTok, under its sensitive and mature content section, there's a few bits that I would like to highlight in regards to sexually suggestive content. We welcome you to creatively express yourself, celebrate your culture, or seek to entertain. We are mindful that certain behaviors related to sexual arousal or suggestiveness may be offensive to some people and may put young people at risk of exploitation. We do not allow content by young people that intends to be sexually suggestive. This includes intimate kissing, sexualized framing, or sexualized behavior. We also do not allow sexually explicit language by anyone. We do allow some artistic content with sexual references, such as song lyrics. Content is restricted 18 years and older and ineligible for the FYF if it shows intimate kissing, sexualized framing, or sexualized behaviors by adults. Now, with this specific rule, you could argue this in two ways in favor of Mama Owl. This video could be a form of artistic content with a sexual reference. This is also a video that shows an example of a serious issue that happens to people every day. In that case, you could argue this is either an educational or artistic video, and sure, you wouldn't necessarily be wrong, but this video is just... it is so weird in achieving that artistic or educational purpose. First off, we have a grown adult who claims that the story that they are reenacting is submitted by someone else, meaning they are about to reenact what is possibly the most traumatic experience of this anonymous person's life. And it is done so by groping herself and simulating chuggalingus. Family-friendly content only on TikTok. Granted, I will give Mama Owl this. She did provide a content warning and made it clear that this video was not meant to be viewed by a younger audience, which is good. The intended audience is known and is attempted to be targeted. But I gotta ask, like, what adult is gonna watch another adult pretend to be a student and a pedophile teacher in a TikTok skit? I just think that's sort of cringe. The fact of the matter is this: we don't even really have any proof that this submission was made by an anonymous user, or if this anonymous person even exists at all. Mama Owl claims that a lot of her stories are user submitted, but there's no way to prove that besides her own word for it. Now, for reasons that I will explain later, I don't exactly trust her word for it, so I would need more proof that these stories aren't just her own creative work. And secondly, her content centers around the stories of people in middle and high school. Therefore, people of that age demographic are gonna be more attracted and recommended to storytime videos that revolve around them. Mama Owl, given a lot of the subject matter in her content, has suggested that her videos are only for adults. And even though the idea that her content is strictly for adults is possible, it's not exactly stated anywhere in her TikTok bio or her video descriptions that this isn't meant to be for children. Despite the content style of story time and the setting being in high school, that would most likely gravitate towards a younger demographic. The bottom line is that this is a skit TikTok that is intended on telling a story. It's a story that was supposedly submitted by another user on TikTok, so it's intended to be a true story. But all stories and the way that you tell them are bound to be criticized, so long as you post these stories on an open forum like social media. So let's exactly decipher what is wrong with this video on a storytelling level, because that's what its intended purpose is. This is not meant to criticize the person who submitted their story and question the validity of their submission, if this person does actually exist. It is merely to criticize how Mama Owl went about doing it. So let's talk about that. Our story begins with a transgender student, played by Mama Owl. This student is late to a class that is being observed by a substitute teacher, also played by Mama Owl. The student comes in late and talks to their friend in class, who tells them that the teacher pulled a bunch of kids out of their class for their tardiness. This trans student thinks that they just dodged a bullet because they snuck into class before the teacher could punish them for it. As soon as the teacher and the other children come back, the students are notified noticeably shaken up, and the teacher goes back to taking attendance. This substitute teacher notices that the trans student snuck into class and then pulls them aside, where they proceed to grope the student and then pull their pants down and tries to sexually assault them. Now, fortunately, this student thought ahead and recorded all of this on camera, and somehow this teacher didn't realize in their attempt at a sex offense that they were getting caught in 4K.
This is 4K! How did they get you in 4K?
The student then goes to the office and shows the footage to the upper staff, and they call the cops. But before the cops could get there, the student is then sent to their next class, where the same substitute teacher is observing their next class as an unfortunate coincidence. Now, how the rest of this plays out isn't exactly known, since the entire story reenactment was deleted a long time ago. However, Mama Owl is one of those TikTokers that has their content re-uploaded a lot. So the actual video is still up via stitches and re-uploads. For the longest time, Mama Owl had an issue with people stealing her content and putting false stitches to her videos with some random footage like slime or painting or Subway Surfers Let's Play again. Why is this a thing on TikTok? I don't understand. You know, I miss TikTok sometimes, but missing TikTok is like missing an abusive ex. That dick may be nice, but his fists were not. It's a form of content theft that is a massive problem on TikTok. And what's worse is that TikTok rarely really does anything about it. So what exactly is wrong with this video, and why are people rediscovering it and getting upset about it? Well, for starters, we have to at least try and appreciate the attempt here to bring awareness to a very real issue, that being sexual abuse in religious primary schools where this story takes place. We have to at least acknowledge that the intentions here were good, albeit the execution in doing so was incredibly poor. The reason why this is getting a lot of flack should be obvious, but to many, it is incredibly strange for a grown adult to play the roles of both a minor student and a teacher whilst reenacting a story of sexual assault. A lot of people have criticized that by showing this assault in all of its details, that it more so is done for the sake of shock value rather than to spread awareness. Sexual abuse in these religious school settings is a real problem, but you don't have to relay this issue by simulating a sexual assault. Like, there doesn't need to be a POV you're getting sexually assaulted right now. Pair that with the cheesy writing with lines such as, "You're going to pay your penance now."
You're going to pay your penance now.
To there only being one actress for all of the roles, that being this older woman with a clear savior's complex, it felt very exploitive to a lot of her audience, hence why Mama Owl took the story down. But due to the content being stolen to utilize in these content mills, the video was rediscovered through re-uploads. Now, before we even address how Mama Owl poorly addresses this controversy, I want to just address that this video was posted July 22nd, 2023, so this was a little bit over a year ago. And I feel if the content creator took this video down and it's been well over a year, then they must surely feel differently about the video now in hindsight. I do think it is a video well worth criticism, but it's not a video worth canceling Mama Owl over. I mean, like, first of all, cancel culture never effectively does anything to hold people accountable anyways. And secondly, Mama Owl not having this video up on their page anymore means that they must not entirely stand by it either in the current year. And honestly, if Mama Owl had just stated that she removed the video because she thought it was a poor portrayal and it was inappropriate, and that she didn't stand by it anymore, and that she apologizes if anyone felt offended by it, then this wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But of course, as all influencers are, they always must be on the defensive for some reason. Like, God forbid that they actually admit fault in making shit content that they themselves scripted, filmed, edited, and posted to a public platform.
Part 2. Addressing the issue.
I feel like I'm sweating. Am I sweating? Oh my god. I put a fan by the door. I don't have any central heating. I have no AC, so I just have the fan. Hopefully you guys don't hear that in the background of the audio. I'm gonna try to edit it so y'all don't hear that. Lazy, what you talking about? It's because you're wearing a beanie in 90-degree weather. Shut up, Janet. I slay.
Slay era. Slay era.
Mama Owl has made 2 videos addressing this controversy. I'll talk about the first one that was posted to her original TikTok page. In present, the Mama Owl account has been removed from TikTok. So I'll talk about this 7-minute TikTok video first, and then we're gonna talk about the skit. Yes, I am not shitting you. She addressed the controversy also in a form of a skit, which, you know, is on brand, but also, again, highly inappropriate. As for her first video, Mama Owl explains why her platform had to be put in complete lockdown, citing recent spamming events, harassment in her TikTok inbox, targeted comment spamming, and trolling on her page.
Recently, I've been asked a lot, Mama Owl, what did you do? Why is everyone giving you so much hate? Let me show you, because I have it recorded. 2 minutes into my live. And then 9 minutes later, after I tolerated all of it. Spam. That's it. That is what started all of the hate.
Now, normally online, the advice when facing any form of harassment is to have thicker skin. And I don't think that solution is tangible to everyone. Like, I don't think you have to have inherently thicker skin when being on the internet. If anything, telling someone to have thick skin when it comes to online harassment puts the responsibility on the victim of harassment rather than actually addressing these harassers head on and acknowledging, hey, harassment is bad. I mean, if you were getting stalked and harassed in real life, the advice you probably don't want to hear is just get thicker skin and deal with it. Like, no, you would go to the police and get a restraining order or something. But the thing is, this is the internet, and the internet is not real life. Stopping online harassment is much easier than stopping in-person harassment, because all you have to do is just block or log off for the day. And it's easier to heed it no mind, and it's often advised not to heed it any mind. Don't feed the trolls, as they say. But I'm also of the mindset that you can acknowledge some form of trolling without feeding into it. Mama Owl, if she is genuinely getting annoyed by the trolls, she can talk about that on her platform. She's not barred from doing so. She just has to understand that paying it mind means that these trolls are gonna feel more motivated to continue fucking with her. And the only true way to disengage and demotivate the trolls is by not giving them that attention and reaction that they crave. Mama Owl suggests through this upload that all of her social media is on lockdown solely because of the spamming on her live feed, as well as degenerate inbox messages.
Because here are some of the messages that I have recently gotten. Now, mind you, this is just a small sample of the messages that I have gotten somehow since turning my DMs completely off.
Now, what was being initially spammed in her live feed and in her TikTok comments was the phrase, "pay your penance," which is directly from the video that is receiving backlash right now.
You're going to pay your penance now.
Now, personally, I don't think spamming her comments with this phrase is the proper way to get her to address criticism of this video. But I also understand that it's become a little bit of a meme at this point, and maybe if Mama Owl addressed it as such, then this would have been fine. However, that's not what happened. Mama Owl made 2 timeline discrepancies when covering this situation. Remember, the Pay Your Penance video was posted July 22nd, 2023, which is a year ago. And Mama Owl says herself that the video hasn't been on her page for over a year, which is technically true when she uploaded this response.
That video has not been on my page for over a year. Over a year.
But then she claims it was from 2 years ago, and it was at the behest of a trans person to bring light to a serious issue.
I posted a skit almost 2 years ago now at the behest of a trans person who wanted someone to bring to light the violence that trans people have to put up with, specifically in religious spaces. And I did that. And one part of it started with a full 30 seconds of me giving the trigger warnings, the content warnings, the "this is not for kids." Pause. You're going to pay your penance now.
And yes, I can technically acknowledge that was your intention, but your execution sucked. Regardless if you were doing it at the behest of someone else, reenacting this traumatic experience by groping yourself is just really fucking weird. The other thing that Mama Owl says is that acknowledging spam on her live was what kickstarted this entire thing. And that's just not true. This all started because of this video that you acknowledge in your response, but downplay it as something you made and removed either over a year ago or 2 years ago. You change it up.
I posted a skit almost 2 years ago now. That video has not been on my page for over a year.
So apparently that means you don't need to address it. Which, I mean, sure, if you don't stand by that video anymore. However, you don't say what this video is. You don't address why you even took this video down anyways. You don't apologize for why it's upsetting people, because I imagine you know exactly why. You just don't want to address why people are upset about the video in the first place. You just say that it was removed a year ago and that's it. How the way that she frames it is that some boys at the school that she works with was spreading it around to try and fire her from her job.
I was then informed by a parent at the school I work at that her own son and his friends had taken that video and were sending it to all of their friends and trying to get me fired. But somehow it's being recirculated again, and I am being called all manner of evil things. So if that mom is still on my page, you might want to go talk to your son again, because clearly he saved that video and is part of this process.
Now, we already watched this video, so you can see how this might make students feel uncomfortable, and maybe want to show this to faculty or administrators. But without seeing this video or knowing any of the details, you'd wonder why a bunch of young kids are spreading a video around and trying to get Mama Owl fired in the first place. If it's getting spread around with the goal of getting you fired, then the video has to be like bad, right? But no, Mama Owl doesn't say that the video was offensive or insensitive. She doesn't explain why the video is off of her page in the first place. She just says it was a story time about a trans child, which frames the boys that spread this video around to get her fired as transphobic for trying to use that video to bully her out of a job.
I posted a skit almost 2 years ago now at the behest of a trans person who wanted someone to bring to light the violence that trans people have to put up with, specifically in religious spaces. And I did that. I was then informed by a parent at the school I work at that her own son and his friends had taken that video and were sending it to all of their friends and trying to get me fired.
However, she completely fails to recognize that the reason why this video is no longer on her page because it made a ton of people uncomfortable because it's a gross POV skit of a child's experience with sexual assault. But she doesn't clarify anything in this 7-minute video. She doesn't tell you that at all. She just says that it was a story time about a trans child and that a bunch of kids were trying to get her fired for it. Like, this would be a completely different scenario if this was Mama Owl's own experience, because that's her own story and she can display that and tell it however the fuck she wants. However, this is someone else's story, and it's really distasteful that you choose to bring awareness like this by making essay a ploy to make people watch part 2, part 3, 4, 5, 6, however many parts, and give you more views and attention. And look, I can't accuse Mama Owl of making essay POV for a child audience if she is making it clear in her content that this is for adults. However, as we previously pointed out, her content style, when looked at from the perspective of the algorithm, would appeal more so to a child demographic, mainly for the fact that it is a school storytime POV skit. Regardless of what her demographic truly is, the children that choose to interact with her page when they're told explicitly not to is a minute point. My argument is, Adults are allowed to criticize and be offended by this too. Like, I'm an adult. I was an adult when I watched this content over a year ago, and I can confidently say I think it's weird and cringe at best, and disrespectful and inappropriate at worst. Mama Owl also, for some reason, calls upon this kid's mother to handle her son as if that's gonna do fucking anything. Like, it's just really weird to use your influencer status to get a random child in trouble. Like, I'm sorry, wasn't your content meant for adults? Why are a bunch of kids harassing you? They aren't allowed to engage with your content or your page, so why are you letting their harassment get to you anyways when they're not supposed to be watching you to begin with?
So if that mom is still on my page, you might want to go talk to your son again, because clearly he saved that video and is part of this process.
You are gonna pay your fucking penance, motherfucker.
Okay. Let's talk about the skit. For timeline reference, this skit was made after she made this video that addressed the controversy horribly, and after her original account was taken down, and this was posted to her new one. So the main issue with her video was the fact that she didn't talk about the skit at all. So really, anyone who was jumping into this had no idea what she was getting steamrolled for. This time around, she finally addresses the video in question, and she does it in a skit. It started out with a skit, and it ends with a skit. Mama Owl begins her skit with this anonymous person in question submitting her story and requesting that the story be given full exposure and details. What this means is that the reenactment of SA was totally not Mama Owl's poor writing choices. It was actually the victim's idea the whole time.
I really want her to know that it's about her, so things that she said and did, you want me to include those as part of the skit. Do you think you can do that? Yeah, I'll tell your story the way you want it to be told. You will, really. I mean, even though you're technically exposing yourself to the possible backlash of this, I mean, everyone should get to tell their story, but far too often, people are silenced, or they're threatened, or they're just terrified of what might happen if they do. You understood this happen to... This didn't happen to me, no, but I know what it's like to not get to tell your story because of that. I will tell yours. Thank you.
And, I mean, sure, if that's what this person wanted, then I guess you could say that Mama Owl fulfilled that. She did it horribly, though. Also, it seems rather strange to blame your poor portrayal of SA on the person that wanted their story to be heard, almost like you're victim blaming. Is it the victim's fault that you're getting called out right now? Mama Owl then shows how uncomfortable and uncertain she is about making this video, which shows some self-awareness that maybe this is not the best idea.
Fuck, is this the world that we live in? Okay, there's no way I can just jump right into this. I have to do... it's gotta be in a part 2, and... I gotta have the whole thing written out, or I'm gonna screw something up, and I can't do my usual formula. This can't be one part at a time. I've gotta blast through it. Maybe people will see the advocacy and not... Hey babe, I got a story sent to me, and it's long, and I'm gonna have to put a lot of ideas and things into this, and it's gonna be multiple parts, but I don't want to draw this process out. I think I need to get right to the heart of the matter, and you need like some extended recording time? Yeah, I think I do. Here's the story. Can you read it and tell me if I'm getting myself in over my head?
But she proceeds to go along with it anyway, with the encouragement of her husband character. And the story stays relatively consistent with her original addressing of the situation. Some boys were sharing this video around, trying to get her fired. Finally, after a trans individual comments that the video made them feel triggered and uncomfortable, she took the entire thing down.
No. What is it? I'm deleting the video right now. What? Why? Is it something that parents said? No, hold on a minute. Right, you want to tell me what that was about? You're making me a little nervous over here. I deleted the part that showed what happened. I'm hoping that maybe the other parts will give enough context, and I mean, it doesn't take away from the fighting back and the reporting and the self-advocacy and all of that. It should be enough to continue the conversation. Okay, but why did you delete it? below this one, there was a message from somebody who's a part of the trans community, and they said that they completely understood the content and all of the trigger warnings and content warnings, and they said that I did everything right and that they were in a good headspace, or so they thought, and so they watched the video, and even with all of my safeguarding, they're telling me that my video was still pretty triggering for them. So one person and you took the whole thing down? My advocacy is about preventing harm, not causing it. If one person was brave enough to reach out to me and tell me this so respectfully, there are others who aren't willing to reach out, and I'm going to protect all of them.
And perhaps maybe someday, she, as a survivor, can tell her own story. But for now, she will be a voice for the voiceless who are ready.
Everybody deserves a voice, even the voiceless. Don't worry, babe. You'll get to tell your story too one day. I will tell my story one day, and I won't leave a single detail out. And until then, I will lend my voice to others.
There's so much wrong here. This video response explaining everything shows, at least to me, that Mama Owl sort of defends the existence of this skit. I was giving her benefit of the doubt that perhaps she didn't defend this content anymore, and that's why it was taken off of her page. But now we're learning that she only took it down not after it made the original anonymous person uncomfortable, but because it made some other random viewer uncomfortable. And I need to ask, so you knew this topic was heavy, you knew what the original person who submitted the story was asking for was risky, and yet you did it anyways and only backpedaled when a random comment said it was a bad idea. At no point in the process of you feeling uncomfortable and uncertain did you think that maybe you could have just said, yeah, I don't think I can do this story justice. It took you up until scripting, recording, editing, publishing, a kid trying to get you fired, and then a random comment saying it was inappropriate for you to finally say, I'm not comfortable or confident that this is a good idea. Like, did your brain malfunction? Notice how she puts the responsibility of this video's existence on everyone else but herself. The one who filmed, scripted, edited, and posted it on her social media. Everyone else is at fault for that video existing on her page, not her. The reason why the entire skit was removed, because some kid almost got her fired for it. The reason why the skit depicted SA in the first place was because an anonymous person asked for it. And all of this while saying that she is an SA survivor herself, who just wanted to bring a voice to the voiceless. Okay. First of all, not that I'm denying your experience. I'm sure that that's a motivation as to why you do what you do online. And I think that's a great creative outlet for your trauma. But what does you being an SA survivor have anything to do with the fact that other victims were offended? What does that have to do with the fact that this video is fucking cringe? What does that have to do with the fact that many have pointed out how this kind of content potentially fetishizes sexual assault? And your only response to that is, I never claimed to be. You're someone who will never be satisfied with anything I've done, and you feel entitled to a performance. Unpack that and move on with your life. No one is forcing you to be here. You know, it's giving, I'm sorry you felt that way. And secondly, all of the projection doesn't even end with her blaming others and telling people essentially, don't like, don't watch, which puts the blame on the viewer and not herself for posting upsetting content in the first place. But also, there's just stupid lines in this skit, such as,
well, let's hope people are responsible enough to know when to scroll away, because you're not responsible for their choice to watch. So one person and you took the whole thing down? And my advocacy is about preventing harm, not causing it. If one person was brave enough to reach out to me and tell me this so respectfully, there are others who aren't willing to reach out, and I'm going to protect all of them.
So, okay, sure, what you watch on the internet is the responsibility of yourself. However, does Mama Owl not know how TikTok works? Like, you don't pick and choose what videos pop up on your FYP. They just appear as you scroll, controlled by an algorithm that recommends content based on stuff you have previously watched and liked. So if people have previously liked and watched other content of yours, then they're gonna be recommended more of your content. Isn't that what you want? Sure, you could argue that they should just swipe away, but then that responsibility suddenly becomes irrelevant when you also say that if one person reached out, you're gonna protect everyone that felt uncomfortable. So either it is their responsibility to protect themselves and abide by the trigger warnings in your content, or it's not their responsibility and it's your job to protect the viewer.
If one person was brave enough to reach out to me and tell me this so respectfully, there are others who aren't willing to reach out, and I'm gonna protect all of them.
Hey, so here's a better idea. How about you just don't? Don't pretend to be a pedophile teacher and assault yourself. Like, just don't do that. Like, it's both, like, triggering and a distasteful thing to do, but also, it's like the equivalent of a humiliation ritual. Like, why do you do this? What are you doing? Her defense of this controversy tells me, at least personally, as in this is just my opinion, that Mama Owl sees herself as a martyr, an advocate who just flew too close to the sun. Ma'am, you took criticism just fine a year ago when you took down this entire skit because some random comment told you it triggered them. Why are you acting like a martyr now that the rest of the internet has picked this up and wants you to disavow and apologize? What, because they weren't nice about it? Girl, mean words is the least of your fucking problems. Like, this is so easy to address that I cannot believe that mean words got you so defensive of content that you clearly do not stand by anymore because you took it off your page a year ago. Like, all you had to say was sorry. But now you want to appear as if you willingly took a bullet for these trans people that we can't even confirm exist? And let me just make this clear, the issue isn't that she told the survivor story and showed the dark reality of trans people in these religious schools. The issue is that you're bad at it. And like, it's fine to just say that you're bad at something. I'm bad at some things. It's okay to just say I fucked up and I'm sorry because I'm just bad at shit. It's fine to just be like, you know what, guys? Honestly, I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was advocating for victims, but clearly I wasn't well equipped with the sensitivity to handle it properly. I am sorry. That's it, the end. Like, why you gotta play this whole, like, I'm just trying to help people since I'm a victim too shtick? Like, ma'am, that's fine. I appreciate you doing that. I get it, but you're bad at it. You did a bad. Just apologize for the bad thing you did. You already took it down. You just have to say, like, my bad, y'all. And people would have understood and left you alone. But now that you've made, like, 2 videos about this situation, changing the narrative each and every time, now no one is gonna take you seriously. Especially since you're attempting to paint yourself as this misunderstood victim who was just trying to do the right thing. And maybe you were, but because of how you responded, no one is gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. And that's where the story ends. Oh, God fucking damn it!
I've been fired. I've been arrested. My home has been raided. I've caught a drug charge. I've been put on the sex offender registry. I've been swatted. And I've killed myself.
Lord, give me strength to get through this nightmare.
Alright, so I was scripting this, right? I was recording, and I was just about to get ready to edit everything, and then she makes a 20-minute response video on YouTube. Golly! So I'm not going to talk too much about this, mainly because her story is relatively the same, except there is a few new details that I want to point out. First of all, Mama Owl addresses absolutely everything, and I do mean everything, like the skits, the stealing of content, the spam trolls, everything. But it's done so weirdly. Like, the way that she frames everything is to suggest that the harassment and the spam comments came before the skit was rediscovered. I imagine that this is done to make the spam comments and harassment seem unrelated to the skit in question, and that the trolls were just doing this for no reason other than to fuck with her.
As soon as I went live, I started getting spammed by somebody. And I said, less than 2 minutes into the live stream, do we have a spammer in here? And after almost 10 minutes of enduring this, I finally said, dude, just quit spamming, and I blocked it. And that live stream went a little more than an hour. Within 48 hours, that video had more than 8,000 comments, and a lot of them were trolls. And around the time that I was trying to get my timeline in order, I became aware of my skit from 2023 being recirculated.
While I do think that the content theft did come before this main controversy, and I do acknowledge that online trolling can happen to literally anyone for no reason, this story just doesn't make any sense. I pointed out that a lot of the spam comments that Mama Owl was getting around the time that she addressed this issue on her TikTok was the phrase, pay your penance. There was some other one like, hey, I'm getting a phone call, or freaky owl, but most of the repeat ones that I saw was pay your penance. So how the hell can a bunch of trolls spam you with comments that take reference to a video that they haven't rediscovered yet? If they're spamming your comment section with pay your penance first, and then they found this clip of the essay skit afterwards, then how are they spamming your comment section with pay your penance if they didn't even know that this skit existed to begin with? Her explanation is that the trolls were spamming her comment section with the brisket song.
I told a spammer to stop spamming on my live stream. What were they spamming? The brisket song.
I'm sorry, what the fuck is even that? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? All the spam I saw you get was the pay your penance line. What the fuck is the brisket song? It's a Young Sheldon reference. You know, I can't... I can't be fucked to have to learn about Young Sheldon lore today. I am not that kind of person that wastes their time, at least not that much. On garbage anyway. So according to Mama Owl, all of these pay your penance spam comments were flooding her feed, and then after she addressed it in a live stream, then the pay your penance skit was re-uploaded. So then how are these trolls spamming this line when they discovered the content after? Like, did they predict the future? The second thing I found interesting relates back to the previous skit video from the last section. In my analysis, I say, this video response explaining everything shows, at least to me, that Mama Owl sort of defends the existence of this skit. I was giving her benefit of the doubt that perhaps she didn't defend this content anymore, and that's why it was taken off of her page. Well, now I know this is absolutely how she feels, because when she proposes the question if the skit was even offensive, this is what she had to say.
Was the skit inappropriate? I'm literally getting half and half. Half people say, yep, that was inappropriate. Other people are saying, no, I completely understood what you were doing. And people shouldn't have consumed it if they weren't able to take it for what it was. And you know what? It's not for me to decide. If you thought that that skit was inappropriate, fine.
Okay, so it went from, I need to take this video down because if it offended one person, it probably offended more who won't speak up, so I need to protect all of them.
Advocacy is about preventing harm, not causing it. If one person was brave enough to reach out to me and tell me this so respectfully, there are others who aren't willing to reach out, and I'm going to protect all of them.
To now you're saying, fine, I guess if you were offended, you were offended. It's not up to me, I don't know.
And you know what? It's not for me to decide. If you thought that that skit was inappropriate, fine.
So when that one trans person who commented, who was hurt by your content, who you took the skit down specifically for their sake, and you personally apologized to them privately about the skit, was that person just not able to handle it for what it was?
And people shouldn't have consumed it if they weren't able to take it for what it was.
Was it more appropriate for them to just not consume it then? Remember, Mama Owl said that this specific comment was what made her take the skit down, but you also said that the viewer who left this comment claimed to be in the right headspace to consume your content, and yet despite the essay warnings before the skit, they still got triggered and hurt by your content.
Right below this one, there was a message from somebody who's a part of the trans community, and they said that they completely understood the content and all of the trigger warnings and content warnings, and they said that I did everything right and that they were in a good headspace, or so they thought, and so they watched the video, and even with all of my safeguarding, they're telling me that my video was still pretty triggering for them.
So maybe the problem isn't the fact that you offered the content warnings, maybe you just suck. Also, she doesn't offer any sort of apology. She says that saying sorry would just look performative at this point.
For me to sit on a camera and start crying and do all of the apology things that everyone demands of a creator who missteps would just be performative at this point.
And I mean, I guess she's right. I mean, that's like the only time in this video that she's actually honest with how not sorry she is, I guess.
Well, first things first, have you thought about just apologizing? That was pretty bad. Hello, but I'm not sorry. Alright, that definitely makes it harder.
Like, at this point, she could offer a proper apology now, but after, like, 3 different responses and they all equally suck, and none of them actually provide any evidence for her side, like, I still don't know if the trans person who commented and got the whole skit taken down, I don't know if that person exists. I don't even know if the person who submitted this story to Mama Owl, I don't know if that person exists either. If she had made only this video and gave this sort of response in the beginning, I think people might still say it's like a bad response because it still very much gives like, I'm sorry you felt that way kind of vibes. But I think at the very least, if this was the only video, it would have been like forgotten about in a week. But like after 3 long ass videos, it's like the only reason this has gone on for as long as it has is because you can't just say sorry and shut the fuck up. To sum up my feelings conclusively, here's the comment that I actually put underneath that video, and I think it sums up pretty well how bad this response was. So let me get this straight. You made content that hurt a lot of people, got called out for it, then redirected everyone's attention towards a content theft and spamming issue when you got called out, despite knowing the true reason why people were actually upset. That was not the spamming or content theft. The Pay Your Penance video came out first, not the spamming event. Then you made a skit, yes, a fucking skit, instead of making this response in the first place. Why did it take making a skit, victimizing yourself, blaming a literal child, for you to finally say you were sorry for what people were actually mad at you for in the first place? If you did this at the very beginning, a lot of people wouldn't be upset. This video doesn't say to me at all you were actually sorry for what people were mad at you for. You're only making this video now because no one is falling for this troll excuse or this atheist hate that you're getting. I don't think you have to have thick skin online and have to tolerate all trolling, but you complaining about all of this during a serious conversation about a mistake you made, it makes all that look like you're deflecting from the actual issue. The video was only done to make people feel pity for you, not because you're sorry that you offended people with a POV you're getting raped now. I appreciate your advocacy and what you are trying to do, but so many people have been saying that part of the skit is straight up fetishizing rape, and you told those folks you don't have to watch it if you don't like it. That's it? That's all you have to say? It would have been better if you just said that you don't stand by the video anymore, but instead you just say, I guess if you find it offensive, then okay, I guess. It's giving, I'm sorry you were offended. You're so defensive of that video because people cut it out of context, but the entire video is bad. You knew it was. Otherwise, you wouldn't have taken down the entire skit when one trans person told you it triggered them. You knew it was bad then, you know that video is bad now, and for whatever reason you're being so defensive of a video you acknowledge caused harm. Why? I don't think you're Satan or anything, but you are so defensive for literally no reason. You didn't act it too well. You used it for shock value. You used it to make you look like a hero. If you changed since then, you don't need to defend a video you think is bad. And now, that's where the story ends. Well, it kinda.
What?
So apparently, from what I'm researching, she apparently got fired from her job, and I guess she got swatted, none of which I can prove without a shadow of a doubt, and Mama Owl also doesn't, like, confirm or deny, which I find really weird because if her 25-minute response video was made to make people, like, feel bad for her, wouldn't that be something you would want to talk about?
I've been swatted, and I've killed myself. All of these things have been claimed to have been confirmed. What? If any of these rumors are true, you're not entitled to that information.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is that TikTok's reaction to Mama Owl hasn't been very sympathetic. And I mean, Can you blame people? All of her responses lacked any accountability. She paraded herself as a victim. The first video, she doesn't even address why the video was removed from her page in the first place, why people had an issue with it, why they were spamming this constant reference to it, what the video even was about. Her second video just made up this scenario where she was right the whole time, even though there was plenty of opportunities to pull the plug on this, and she didn't do that until someone else got hurt. She just frames it as an atheist that just got targeted and harassed by children or angry Christians online.
And at one point, somebody I believe genuinely asked me about my religious affiliations, which I answered honestly. I'm an atheist. I was raised Methodist, but I'm currently atheist. And this remark was met with dozens of people telling me that I need to find Jesus. I need God in my life. I will pray for you. And I did poke fun at one of the people, well, many of the people who said that I need to find Jesus, because I accurately said that Jesus is a corpse, because he did, in fact, die more than 2,000 years ago. And that became all of the trolls saying that I made fun of and mocked all religions and God and Jesus in particular. And that was the start of thousands more people with Bible verses in their bio lines harassing me.
And look, sure, there are younger people that are taking the piss, but it's because you made a video that was exploitive and gross. And this final YouTube response is just essentially, I'm not gonna apologize because y'all won't think I'm sincere anyways, fuck you. Mama Owl's original account was taken offline. I don't know if this was due to like mass reports or not, but now that her page is gone, that should be the end of it. But no, it's not. Just because Mama Owl herself no longer has her page up, that doesn't mean her videos aren't still out there. There were a few more videos that were archived thanks to Lurking Doll on YouTube, which you should go subscribe and enjoy all of their lovely art. Also, go watch all of their Mama Owl videos because they're also really good. And they gave me access to a few more videos that I found even more issues with. So let's talk about that.
Mama Owl, why so mean? Mama.
So one of the characters that you'll become very well acquainted with when watching Mama Owl is her self-insert OC character, Miss Minx. It's very obvious that Miss Minx is supposed to be a self-insert of herself because Miss Minx acts as a savior to the kids facing injustices and helps them when they need it. However, a lot of Mama Owl's videos insert Miss Minx into submitted stories with unhappy endings, such as this one. This user-submitted story talks about suffering with an eating disorder, and they eventually get so lightheaded and sick from forcing themselves not to eat all day that they pass out unconscious in the counselor's office. And Mama Owl cuts in to give this student character a happy ending with Miss Minx acting as the better therapist than the actual counselor.
The submission ends by her being passed out on the counselor's office floor for the rest of the day, and her teacher, whose class she missed, failed her for a presentation that she was supposed to be there for. Nobody called her parents, nobody helped her with her eating disorder. I can't leave it like that. I have to change it.
Now look, I understand that Mama Owl is trying to give catharsis and healing to this person who submitted this sad story with a bad ending and wanting to rewrite history to make them feel better. Like, instead of being abandoned in the counselor's office to miss classes and fail, she should have had a teacher ask her what's wrong, check in on her, care a little more. And I agree, that should have been what happened in a perfect world. But it's very obvious that Mama Owl isn't doing this to perfect the situation that this person went through. Miss Minx is not here to create a safe space or alternative scenario to make this person feel better. It was done to make Mama Owl look like a hero. She's done this with a lot of other stories as well, covering a wide range of issues, from racism to child abduction to bullying.
Come here. Oh, hey, put them down. You get my daughter for me and I give you this kid back. I really don't think you want to do this right now. Well, I think I do. Everybody inside now, get inside.
Every every single story time ends with a happy ending because of the reasonable Miss Minx, whilst every other character around her are incompetent adults that either don't care or act stupid. She did the same thing in this next storytime skit of a student who had private pictures leaked and teachers showed it around faculty to shame the student and decide a punishment for taking explicit photos.
Minx, you might want to take a look at this. Take a look at what? Oh my god! Keep that thing closed. Bryn, am I understanding this correctly that everyone in this room has seen your pictures? Yeah, he showed them to everybody. You are the one who showed her pictures to everybody in this room. They didn't all get sent the pictures, you showed it to them? Every educator in this room has a vested interest in Bryn's well-being. I would believe that if you weren't sitting in this room redistributing child pornography as some kind of weird form of slut-shaming. But I'm not, I swear. Bryn, make no mistake, you are not. This was a private exchange between you and your significant other, and that was nobody else's business. Unfortunately, you became a victim in this, and that victimization went all the way up to our administration. We are not making her into a victim. She kind of did this to herself.
Now, this story was not user submitted as far as anyone is concerned. This is a completely fabricated narrative created by Mama Owl herself. And maybe this is a situation that she has experienced in her years of teaching. But if that's not the case, then Mama Owl just scripted a case scenario where she plays the moral high ground over a bunch of poorly written idiot teachers who were showing a child's images around. Like, tell me you're a straw man without telling me you're a straw man. And Mama Owl explicitly calls it child pornography, so I can only imagine that these were potentially nude images. So Mama Owl wrote this fake-ass scenario about an issue as serious as child porn to show how morally grandstanding she is on the issue of child porn, using a made-up scenario of a fictional minor character being exploited by her teachers. Again, I appreciate that you're bringing attention to like a real issue that does happen, but why you gotta do that? Now look, I've made a skit in like a previous video that involved a pedophile getting put in prison and used the topic of SA as an example to combat a stupid argument. However, I didn't make myself some sort of hero. I made this skit to point out how stupid Theft King's logic was. And if Mama Owl was using this skit to show how adults will shame and harm kids who are victimized in a sexual way, instead of assisting them perpetuating rape culture, then I'd see the intentions of this video. However, it's obvious that, paired with her eating disorder video, Mama Owl creates these fake scenarios or takes submissions of real stories to change details to put her self-insert character that magically makes everything feel better to fuel her hero's complex. Look, I can appreciate this sort of therapeutic approach to giving people a Miss Minx intervention, especially if they never got that. However, this only fuels Mama Owl's content and her desire to be perceived as morally righteous. And I know this is about grandstanding on her ideals because of this next video that was uncovered of Mama Owl almost, sort of, condoning underage students from reading erotic books in schools. I wish I was fucking kidding.
This is about a book? So she has been carrying this book around with her all to her classes. She's been reading it openly in front of other students, and somebody saw it and thought it was very inappropriate and reported it to the administration, which is why we are here.
This skit is a scenario where a teacher tries to take a book from a student, to which the material in the book is inappropriate. Now, this could mean literally anything, and Mama Owl keeps it intentionally ambiguous to make the argument that teachers are punishing students for reading banned books or books that aren't appropriate in a school setting. However, the content of the book is described as graphic and inappropriate content with no explicit pictures, but the content of the book was identified by a teacher as potentially not age appropriate for the student.
So a teacher reported her for what? Reading during class? For the graphic and inappropriate content of the material she happens to be reading at school. How did the teacher know that it was inappropriate? Well, because the cover, here. The cover is just a man and a woman standing together. There's nothing inappropriate happening. They're not even touching each other. They're looking at each other longingly, but I don't see that as graphic. Do you? I wasn't given details about what the person saw. Also, if you just flip through the pages of this book, there are no pictures. So what's the problem?
Keep in mind, the age demographic that Mama Owl teaches is like 6th grade, so it's like 11 to 14 roughly estimated. I'd understand if Mama Owl was using this video as a way to highlight certain banned books that were being barred from schools due to LGBTQ topics that were cited as being sexually inappropriate for students. However, because Mama Owl isn't specific about her example of this inappropriate book, then it could literally be anything. I mean, she's describing a book with a normal looking cover, no pictures, yet has graphic content that was identified by another teacher that recognized the book as inappropriate. Like, honestly, for all I know, she could be describing 50 Shades of Grey. That book has a normal looking cover, I mean, it's literally just a tie on the front, extremely graphic content, and I doubt that any teacher would want an 11 to 14-year-old reading 50 Shades of Grey at school. It would make sense if the book that she is referring to in this skit is something like a banned LGBTQ book. However, the scenario could easily refer to a book like 50 Shades of Grey and still apply and actually make the argument look really fucking stupid. In fact, in this case scenario, I would argue that that would make more sense than some banned book that a Republican overreacted to. So yeah, maybe don't have the message of your videos be it's okay for children to read inappropriate books at school. Sure, kids are gonna grow up and go on Wattpad and read smut, but that's in the comfort of their own home, and not because their mom signed them up to Wattpad and suggested a bunch of smut for them to read. No parent would ever do that. Hey, so I know that y'all want to be done with this video as much as I do. We've been going at this for over an hour now. I'm tired. You're tired. I understand. But I found another video that I wanted to share. Mama Owl posted this skit around the time that this story broke. The case of Abby Zerwiner, who was shot by her 6-year-old student at Rich Neck Elementary School. It's a story that highlights the conversation of gun violence in American schools. And Mama Owl addresses it by reenacting what happened to Miss Zerwiner in a skit.
What can I do for you? Oh, those don't belong at school, sweetheart. No, those belong locked up in a pew-pew safe at home. Oh, you say next time you're gonna bring the pew-pew. Okay, isn't somebody supposed to come with you to school every day? Okay, sweetheart. Well, why don't you let me have those and you can go get your folder in your cubby, okay? Principal, this is rather urgent. Tommy brought these in, said next time he's gonna bring the pew-pew and unalive me. I need you to handle this, okay? Yeah. Tommy, you're back. I'm so glad to see you today. Are we not doing anything about the pew-pew situation? No, you don't think it was legitimate. He had them in his hand, said he has access to the pew-pew. Just keep teaching him and put a smile on my great. Okay. Good morning, Tommy. I see nobody's with you again today, even though that's your plan. Okay, let's get ready to go, everybody. Principal, I'm hearing from a student, Tommy, that he has a pew-pew with him today and he's going to unalive somebody. You're gonna handle that? Okay, cool, thank you. Principal, a student has reported to me that another student has a pew-pew here today. Tommy? Okay, yeah, you're gonna handle that? Good, great, thank you. Principal, Tommy said he's gonna unalive me with his pew-pew in his backpack. Let's see how they handle it. Let's talk about the punctuation situation. Tommy? Tommy? I've been shot. Everybody out. Everyone out, please. Everyone out. Oh, is everyone safe? Everyone's safe. I need help. Teachers are tired of being the collateral damage of the failures of our society as a whole. This has to change. This has to stop. Or you won't have any teachers left.
Every fucking time. Though I understand what her intention was to bring awareness to teacher casualties to gun violence in schools, this skit is so lackluster that it's almost kind of insulting. Now, in her 25-minute response, Mama Owl claims to have changed her approach to how she makes content about serious subject matter to avoid making the same mistake with the sexual assault skit. But it's here where I think she completely misses the point of the argument. The issue with Mama Owl and her skits about serious issues is that she is so utterly tone deaf. You know what would be a better way to spread awareness and start conversations about these serious topics? Read an article. Share a GoFundMe. Redirect people to public servants who can actually enact real change. Mama Owl says near the end of this skit that something needs to change, and we need to do something to prevent gun violence in school. But she never actually redirects anyone to a source to go make a difference. She just says, things really gotta change soon, and that's it. The end. To make it abundantly clear, my problems with this type of content. It's not that serious issues are being highlighted and given a platform for conversation. The problem is that it's tone deaf, lacks any nuance, and doesn't give the viewer any sources to take immediate action to enact any sort of change. It is purely done to make Mama Owl look morally righteous by bringing serious issues on her platform to talk about to show how much she cares, when in reality, she's not effectively doing anything to actually enact any form of activism. She claims to be an activist and her content is for advocating, but it's the most obvious form of slacktivism that I've seen in a while. As of right now, Mama Owl no longer has her main page up. It's been completely removed, and she's been made kind of a laughingstock on TikTok. And it's like, look, I get it. This is a bad video, and so is this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this. Pretty much most of her content is pretty cringe, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, let's walk in the hallway, okay?
I'll fucking kill you, you pregnant bitch.
Whoa!
But honestly, I don't think she deserves to be, like, canceled or anything. I see Mama Owl as someone who clearly had good intentions with some of her content, but the execution of such content was very much chasing the high that the algorithm rewarded her with, that she made a very stupid decision by reenacting sexual assault. And look, clout is a drug. It makes people do the stupidest shit. And Mama Owl very well could have been just trying to give a voice to this person if that person who submitted their story actually, like, exists and is happy with the end product. And hey, if that's the case, then ultimately, who cares what myself and the mass audience thinks? If Mama Owl, like, achieved what this person wanted, then I guess she just kind of fulfilled exactly what this person was asking for, and if they're happy with this, then good on them. I just think there were so many better ways that this could have been handled. Mama Owl clearly wants to help people and bring awareness to real social issues in a classroom setting, but if her wholesome skits don't land, then they don't land. And all she has to do is just take the L. Just say it was a bad video, dude. It's not that hard. And just because I don't think her response videos were good, it doesn't mean she doesn't have the right to claim at least some victimhood. The biggest critique of this TikTok addressing everything is that Mama Owl highlighted more of the harassment that she got, the spam that she gets, her content getting stolen, and she sort of talks about the video that everyone is criticizing her for, but even that is framed as some asshole kid that's trying to get her fired from her job. And really, I cannot emphasize enough, it is this simple. All Mama Owl has to do is say this: hey, there's an old video going around that is no longer on my page. I took it down because it wasn't my most respectful TikTok. I trivialized a serious issue when there are so many different ways I should have handled it. My intention was to spread awareness and give a voice to this person, but the intent was lost in translation due to my poor portrayal. It is no longer on my page for that reason. I no longer stand by it. I am sorry. See, it's almost as if it's not that hard. But also, even though I agree this video is kinda cringe and should probably be addressed, Mama Owl didn't get completely like not fucked over. Her TikTok got mass reported, she got swatted, a bunch of assholes sent her ableist, homophobic, and just weird ass messages, and worse yet, she was potentially fired from her job. And like, honestly, all of this over one fucking video? And don't get it twisted, like, I agree, the video is bad. And if the school that she worked at didn't want to associate with her public platform because of this content, then they don't have to. But like, did y'all have to swat the woman? Was that really necessary? Like, I'm all for holding people accountable, but I swear, like, TikTok, y'all don't play over there. Y'all are insane. And again, like I said, yeah, call her ass out on this cringe video for exploitation, but like doxing her children, threatening her family over one fucking video? And I mean, I highlighted others, but you could just argue that that's just my own interpretation. Maybe I'm just reading too far into it. But like, just because I'm reading too far into her other content that I didn't like, that doesn't mean I'm gonna go swat the woman. Just because I think her videos give off weird, bad vibes, that doesn't mean I want her deplatformed. Like, the woman didn't kill anyone. She was just a little distasteful that 1, 2, 3 other times. And you know what's the easiest way to fix that? Just like write better, maybe? Like, I don't see how spamming all of her comments with this same little meme of pay your penance is gonna educate this woman on what she did wrong. Apparently, she thinks that she's getting all of this hate due to addressing the trolls, which can only mean that y'all were so persistent on this one fucking joke that you wouldn't even lay it out how she fucked up in the first place. So let me make this very fucking simple. Mama Owl, you made a video that graphically depicted a scenario of someone else's experience with sexual assault as a minor. The way you did this was basically making a mimicry of sexual assault, which hurt a lot of other sexual assault survivors. It may not have been your intentions, but what you did with this video made a lot of them feel uncomfortable and their trauma trivialized for a TikTok skit. And you can talk about these issues and bring awareness, but it should be more respectful than this. I think TikTok should give Mama Owl her account back. And I think that we should all just kind of back off from her so she can improve in a space that is not bombarded with the same copy-paste joke. Mama Owl isn't gonna get any better if the community continues to pester her with the same response. She's only gonna become more bitter and resentful to criticism unless we handle this maturely. And hopefully Mama Owl does the same, but we will just have to wait and see. Until then, I'm a lazy bedhead, and POV, you're supporting me on Patreon and finally getting your little drawn characters I promised since December. Fucking finally! I want to apologize that this tier exclusive came far too late. To explain what happened, back when I announced that we'd be doing like the special character thing, I broke my drawing tablet, which then obviously delayed getting those done, and then I was dirt poor and I couldn't replace it. And then I moved, and now I have 2 of these fucking things, so now I don't have an excuse. So, special thank you to MellowMylo, John X Woodcat, wallsxmigraine, L Peace, Magnolia, Skye The UwUing One, Ethan, Bacon Pierogi, DK Domo, Seraphim, Angelintestines, AmberLeigh, John Fanon, The Piper at Dawn, Jordan Ogle, Mamiko Megamine, NoctiSketch, Grimmy, Average Sytrus User, Gamblor, Bob, ProVoiceActor1 Dubs, JellyfishPrincesss, FunStuffies, MatryoshkaMark, Springlock Grave, Trippy, Rudie Jazz, Glizzard, Johnny Boy, Rice Maddie, Pastel UFOs, and Gwendolyn Von Holt. Thanks so much for watching. Follow me on Instagram. I only really have an Instagram now. I sort of like lost interest in using Twitter. Just, it's better for my personal mental health. Like, I need to focus on just YouTube and Instagram and like Patreon for now. But you can keep in touch with me on Instagram. I like posting my art and stuff there. And I look forward to future content with you guys. Thank you once again for watching, and I will see you all next time. The end.